Hello friends, so today we will do ultraviolet radiation therapy, that is use of ultraviolet radiations for therapeutic purpose, and this comes in the broad category of actinotherapy, because as you know that ultraviolet radiations are also type of electromagnetic radiations, but they differ from the other bands of the spectrum. So first of all, let us understand what exactly is the position of ultraviolet radiation, and when we say position, automatically how is it different in frequency and wavelength from the neighboring radiation, and obviously these only would give the difference in their properties and their therapeutic applications. So the ultraviolet band you see is beyond your violet. This is your visible, from here you start the low energy, the high wavelength and low frequency, and in this direction the frequency is increasing. So let me just give you a recall that in this direction your frequency is increasing, that means the energy is increasing by the formula of h nu, and in this direction the wavelength is increasing. You have radio waves, you have microwaves. Radio waves have no component of radiation that is used in physiotherapy. We have a high frequency current that we will be doing in some other chapter of short wave diathermy. Microwaves, yes, we use a bit of it in microwave diathermy. Then infrared we have just done in huge details, and now the visible radiation is again not much used in physiotherapy, but just after this visible band you have the ultraviolet radiation. Then if we expand it further, this band is for convenience is further expanded, and you have 3-4 types of ultraviolet radiations depending upon their wavelengths. We have divided them. So UVA is the longest one, as you can see in the terms of wavelength, and their chief effects are erythema, but they do not give you much of pigmentation. So the skin will not darken with these radiations. However, you will get skin reddening by this kind of ultraviolet radiation, that is A type. So this is 315 nanometer around. 400 to 315, then from 315 to even shorter, if we move in this direction, अगर हम और छोटे वेवलेंथ की तरफ जा रहे हैं, मतलब ज़्यादा एनर्जी की तरफ जा रहे हैं, मतलब इस तरफ जा रहे हैं, RHS to LHS जा रहे हैं, तो we find that the middle band is UVB band, and UVB type is from 315 to 280. So from here we start this band and it goes up till here, and if you are interested in understanding the wavelength, so it is from 315 to 280. And if we move further in this LHS direction, so you will find that you have ultraviolet C, that is the last one, and it is from 280 to 200. So practically we say that these three are the radiations, but in terms of physics they say that there is a band which is even after these, and that is known as vacuum UV. Why the term is vacuum? We all understand that the ultraviolet radiations react with the atmospheric oxygen, and they convert the oxygen into ozone. So you all know that if this is your oxygen in atmosphere, that is somewhere in ionosphere, and when the ultraviolet radiations fall or are available in the vicinity, so you have a chemical reaction and it converts the oxygen into ozone. So because such radiations are heavily absorbed in some chemical reaction, so beyond this the energy of the radiation is so high that they need vacuum to travel. If they are in air, you will not find them because they will get absorbed and you will have some chemical reaction taking place. So below this, if the wavelength drops below this, and if the frequency rises above the C value, the UV has a special name known as the vacuum UV, because now the ultraviolet radiations are so small in wavelength that they are not able to penetrate the atmosphere, rather they get absorbed in the atmosphere, and if you want traveling or propagation of such waves, you need vacuum. So there is a special name given as vacuum UV. Now, as I said that this is on the left side of your visible spectrum, which means the energy is even higher. So simply by heating a filament, as we have been doing in case of infrared lamps, it will not give you the temperature rise, will not give you the production of ultraviolet radiations, and you need special lamps. You need special lamps with some special phenomena or some special principle which can give you ultraviolet production. So all these ultraviolet lamps or generators are based on the principle of mercury excitation and emission of photon. So mercury vapor is the identified material. If we excite, we all know that in the Bohr's model of atom, you have a nucleus and you have the energy levels in which the electron does the round. So if I just draw 2, and there is a ground state, this is the ground state, and these are the excited states. So when an electron gains some energy, it jumps from ground state to excited state, but it cannot stay there for longer, so it comes back. So it comes back and drops down to its ground state. So when it comes to its ground state, it will emit the photon. It will emit a photon, and this photon is exactly equal to the energy, that is the difference between the two energy states. So this is a plain physiology of the Bohr's atomic theory. So based upon this, we have found now, because all these energy levels are fixed for different atoms, so we have found that mercury falls in that category, that if the mercury electrons are excited and when they come back, they give the photon which is in the range of ultraviolet radiations. So which is why we have chosen mercury. We may have chosen any substance, but we have to see that if that substance electron gets excited and when it comes back, what do we get? If we get some other photon which is highly energetic, more than UV, or if it is very less, then there is no point, because we are interested only in ultraviolet radiation generation. So for ultraviolet lamps, we take mercury as the substance. Now another thing is we need to understand that these lamps are quite hot, even hotter than the infrared lamps, because mercury excitation will need a lot of thermionic emission, lot of temperature rise in the tube or in the bulb. So ये जो हमारे लैम्प्स होते हैं, ये काफ़ी गर्म हो जाते हैं, क्योंकि इनको और ज़्यादा टेम्परेचर पर ऑपरेट करना होता है. And so in some conditions we find it suitable that they should be protected with a water jacket such that the lamp gets cooled. हम एक लैम्प लेते हैं, सपोज ये लैम्प है, इसके ऊपर हम एक, now suppose this is the lamp, this is the ultraviolet lamp, we will cover it in a waterproof seal, and we will have another envelope, right? And there will be a window here. If I draw a window here, because finally the ultraviolet needs to come out, so there will be a window here like this, right? There will be a special quartz glass here. The window is not open like this. The window is for ultraviolet, not for any substance to pass. So now you will be having a special glass here. So this is the window now, you can say, and with this window the ultraviolet can pass, and this is a waterproof chamber, and the water will move through a separate mechanism. The water will move, it will circulate, and there will be a big reservoir in which the water will be collected. So the temperature of this lamp, because this whole area is heated, this lamp is hot, ये सारा गर्म हो जाएगा, अल्ट्रावायलेट रेज गर्म हो जाएंगी, तो उनको हम क्या करते हैं, फिर इस तरीके से पानी को घुमाते रहते हैं. तो जब तक ये रेडिएशंस बाहर निकलती हैं, यहाँ से रेडिएशंस बाहर निकलेंगी, यहाँ से रेडिएशंस बाहर निकलेंगी, यहाँ से, यहाँ भी यही विंडो होगा, बिकॉज फाइनली अल्ट्रावायलेट हैज़ टू कम आउट. यहाँ भी यही विंडो होगा, क्वार्ट्ज. So if this quartz window allows the ultraviolet to come out, this water which is circulating like this from a reservoir will ensure that this part is not hot, this whole part is not hot, and the radiations are cooled. They are just having ultraviolet frequency or ultraviolet wavelength for which they are meant and for which they are therapeutically intended. So, but we'll come to this later also. We'll do lamps one by one. So that is the thing. Now we need to understand the gross structure. I will not go much into the physics, but we will just see the gross structure of a ultraviolet bulb. So it looks like a simple bulb only. You have a bulb with a cap with screw. This is the part where the bulb is fixed to some electrical supply or to some frame. ये bulb को जैसे लगाते हैं हम holder में, वो चीज़ है. Now this is the area where the whole thing start. You call it stem. There is a resistor here. So the resistor will manage the current intensity, and this part is the main part. I will not go much in the physics, but this part is the main part. I'll come back to this part. And this is the chamber in which you have mercury vapors. This is the chamber in which you have mercury atoms, but because they are low pressure, so you don't find mercury in liquid form, you will find the mercury vapors. So this is the tube, and this is nitrogen filled, or this can be some other inert gas like argon, so to make the environment inert. So these are the things you are doing. This is a fluorescent lamp, so you have a fluorescent coating here. We'll come back to the fluorescent coating also. So this is a fluorescent coating, so radiations go here, and there is a special mechanism by which the wavelength of the radiation is changed, that is known as fluorescence. So there is a fluorescence coating here, and all these things. Basically we need to understand what actually happens and how do we get this. As I said, the principle is excitation of mercury. So basically what we do, we rely on the thermionic emission. So there are two electrodes. One is a plate electrode. So there are two electrodes. If I draw it coil only, not plate this time, and some high current is passed through these electrodes. There is a strong potential difference that we have kept between these two electrodes. I am drawing the schematic diagram. Now this is the structure of the lamp, but this is the schematic diagram to understand the functioning of the lamp and how does actually ultraviolet comes out. So this is your area, which is known as the arc area. Now here you will have a lot of heat, because of potential difference, electrons will be given out, and thermionic electrons you will see in this area. Because of high energy of the potential difference that you applied, the electrons are knocked out. You can see this is this place. So the cathode is hot. As I said that you have a cathode and you have an anode, which is a plate, right? If I draw a thermionic valve, it is like this. This is a cathode, and this is a plate electrode. You call it anode. Now because anode will have more less resistance, so it will not give you any thermionic emission, but this being high resistance will give you lot of heat, and heat will give you electrons coming out. So the electrons will come out because, and this is known as thermionic emission, the electron emission due to the high temperature. So these electrons are freely available here, and they try to reach the plate. Electrons under the influence of potential difference will come from this cathode, and they will try to reach here. Now when they are doing this, as I said that we have the vapors of mercury, like they are in this vicinity, they are moving, and you know that the gas always fills the complete space available. So we are concentrating on one, but there are many molecules like the atoms like this. So let's say there are many atoms, and when these electrons with very high energy are passing from cathode to anode, let's say electrons are passing like this, they will hit the atoms of mercury, because mercury atoms are all where, everywhere you have mercury atoms. We are just concentrating, for example, say on this atom. So this is in this vicinity, and this gets struck, or this gets collided with the electrons that are given by this hot cathode. So our half of the job is done, because we wanted to give energy to the mercury atom. Now when the mercury atom is given energy, the mercury atom will the energy will be in the kinetic form, and the mercury atom will move faster, so that is the kinetic part, so you call it the elastic collision. But in case of elastic collision, that will happen randomly. कुछ collisions तो ऐसे होंगे जो mercury की speed बढ़ाएंगे, लेकिन कुछ collision ऐसे होंगे जो mercury absorb कर लेगा, energy will be absorbed. And where will that energy go? That energy, so now when the energy is absorbed by the atom, where will it go? So it will try to excite the electron that we have just done. And you know that when the electrons are excited, they go to the higher energy level and they will come back, and when they come back, they give you a photon emitted, and that photon will give you the ultraviolet radiation. So that is the plain physics behind the production of, so this electron will give energy to this atom. This atom will have excitation, and after the excitation you will have a photon emitted from this whole cycle. So basically nothing is consumed in this whole process. Only thing is the energy, the electrical energy that is supplied by your external source. ये देखिए दो पिंस हैं आपके जो आपको electrical energy देंगे. So the electrical energy is converted into 2-3 things. One is the kinetic energy will be more. You will find the the atoms moving faster in this tube. Second is the temperature of this tube will rise, so the kinetic energy will be there. If I write down, you have the kinetic energy increase here, and you have the temperature increased here, and you will have the photon coming out from these atoms. So in these three parts, the electrical energy that you give by these electrodes that I have schematically drawn here also, this is the electrical energy you are giving, is converted. So our efficiency depends upon that the maximum conversion should be a photon, because we do not want heat. Rather heat we are going to cool later. जो मैंने बताया आपको पानी से ठंडा करना पड़ता है लैम्प. So the efficient lamp should give maximum photonic emission and a controlled amount of heat and controlled amount of other things. So that is the basic physics behind production, or the principle behind production of ultraviolet radiations. Now if you understand the basic principle behind the production, and you know that the substance we take always is mercury, so we are in a position to now understand 3-4 very common equipments. We also call them lamps that are available and that are used for different type of radiation. So in this line, the first one is the simplest one, the low pressure mercury. We also call it mercury arc vapor discharge tube. You know why is it the name low pressure? Because the pressure is kept low so that the mercury is not liquid, mercury is in gaseous form. Vapor again because mercury is in gaseous form. Discharge because the photonic discharge or the discharge of energy in form of electromagnetic radiation is there, so we call it a discharge. Tube or a lamp is a simple tube basically because the shape is like tube, so we call it a tube. Because finally you will find that normally these tubes are like this, so we call it tube, or you can call it lamp if the shape is of lamp kind or a bulb kind. So if this is the shape, you can call it a mercury discharge lamp, or you can call it a mercury discharge tube. So that is something less technical. So these are the things. And the arc, you say, because there is a thermionic electronic arc produced. There is an arc which can be seen here. This is the arc you are having. So that is the complete dissection of this long term low pressure mercury arc vapor discharge tube lamp. So I think I've tried to split it into each and every word's explanation. So, and now you know that UVR is produced by mercury vapor that are contained in a quartz burner. Now you know radiations of UV type, the UVR cannot travel the common glass. They get absorbed by the common glass, so they cannot travel the transparent normal glass. So they need a special substance through which they pass. So for that we have this quartz. So this whole thing is a quartz. So wherever you have seen a bulb, so this bulb is not, this is a quartz bulb. So these bulbs are not simple glass bulbs, they are the quartz bulbs. So as I said that we put argon gas because we have to keep the material inert, otherwise mercury will try to, because mercury is a metal and it is a reactive also, so it may react with some gas or with some other substance, so we are trying to keep it as inert as possible. So we are having argon in the tube, and we do not have much of mercury in the tube because the expansion will be there, because the heat will be generated. So we are keeping a gas which is temperature wise, heat wise, expansion wise and chemical reaction wise very inert and very benign. So we are choosing argon gas for it, and we are keeping mercury in a very small amount under reduced pressure, and when the pressure is reduced, the mercury converts itself into the vapors. Now, as I said that electrodes are there, the cathode and anode, and when the current is applied to these electrodes, the free electrons are accelerated in the tube. I just explained you. It is simply the Joule's heating phenomena. You have a very thin filament and the current is passed through it. You have I2RT heating, and when the heating is much, when this Joule's heating is very, very high, we call it Joule's heating. So when this Joule's heating is very high, the electrons in this wire will gain lot of energy, lot of heat, and with that heat they are able to escape the atoms of this coil and they are coming out. So we call them now free electrons because they are highly energetic with kinetic energy, and they are free now because they have come out from their parent electron atom. So highly energetic accelerated electrons are available now in tube. They collide with the mercury vapors as I explained you. So they collide with the mercury vapor at random. I am not saying that every electron will collide with every mercury vapor or atom, but at random some will collide, so that is something we have to assume. And after these collisions, three things can occur. First is, as I said, that there won't be anything at subatomic level. Atom में कुछ नहीं होगा. The speed of the vapor or the atom will be faster, so that is the elastic collision, which means the energy is completely transferred from one kinetic energy to another kinetic energy. Ke of electron is not transferred to the Ke of the atom, so that is elastic collision. In another situation, we will have knocking of electron. Knocking means the electrons of the mercury will come out from the mercury atom and now they become free. So that is knocking. Electron पूरा ही बाहर निकल जाता है. But as I said, all these happen randomly, so we cannot control all these things. Though this and this is not desirable, हमारे किसी काम के नहीं है. Because if there is knocking, electrons are finally out. If there is elastic collision, we are wasting energy in elastic collision. But as I said, it is physics, it is nature, and it happens like that. But the third one is very important for us because we know that this gives you the excitation. So if electrons collide and the electrons of the mercury, they get excited and then they come back. So when they come back, they give you ultraviolet radiation. So the third part is the part which gives you UVR radiation. But this is the natural physics. We cannot stop it. This happens randomly. This happens by chance, or there may be some other natural laws governing it which are beyond our control. So we just make this environment as suitable as possible for the generation of ultraviolet radiation, but we cannot completely control that all the energy which is given by these electrical terminals is converted only in the photonic emission. We will definitely have some amount of heat coming up. We will definitely have some amount of knocking of the ionization of mercury. So that will always be there. We cannot stop it. So this is the basic lamp, and we call it low pressure lamp. But the problem is this lamp has lesser energy, and because the energy is less, so ultraviolet given by this is of less energy, and then the wavelength also sometimes is not desirable because, as I said, the Bohr atoms, Bohr model says that if this is the ground state, this is the higher state, this is the even higher state, this is the even higher state. So electron when get energy can go to any level. It can go to this level, it can go to this level, it can go to this level. And now when they come back, they will give three different photons. This level will have lesser energy, this level will have more energy, this will have even lesser energy. So अलग अलग एक्साइटेड स्टेट से नीचे गिरने पर अलग अलग फोटॉन्स आते हैं और ये चीज़ हम कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. So though this is a good lamp, but still it is not very much suitable for many applications therapeutically. So we need some more lamps, and we need some more modifications with such lamps, which we will be doing in the other lamps. But anyways, this is a basic lamp, and this remains the base of the other or you can say this is a template for the other lamps to be developed over this lamp.